What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am super stoked to be joined today by fellow podcaster and creator of Sketch.com, Mr. David Harper. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you. Appreciate you being on here. Usually I'm watching you interview people, and now I'm getting to interview you. How the turns have tabled today.
Are you a watcher slash listener, not a listener?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. I started with your podcast. You were doing the audio and everything, more focused, I think, on the audio side until you started doing it full time, which we'll talk about. But I do video, like, especially if I'm drawing or something, I'll have video off to the side and I'll peek over. But yeah, mainly listening on commutes is how I've consumed most of the off-panel podcast content.
It's been interesting to see who it immediately gloms on to doing the video. There's like a number of creators, like, do you know who Wes Craig is? Who does Kaya?
Yes.
Wes Craig has shared a couple of my podcasts this week, and both of them were YouTube. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
That's
interesting. Yeah. And now I have, painstaking task. I uploaded the whole library, all the video versions to Spotify. So the video versions of all the episodes now are on Spotify along with the audio. And that took me like almost 2 weeks of uploading.
I don't think I could do that because my video and my audio is not aligned. My audio is I edit quite a bit.
Okay.
And then my video, for the most part, I don't edit whatsoever, which is kind of funny. It's like the off-panel raw version.
Yeah. Punk rock style.
Exactly. I just get it out there. Enjoy it, I hope.
Yeah, well, like I was telling you before, I've always really admired your podcast and the guests you have on, and most specifically, like the types of questions that you ask are very well thought out, and I can tell you definitely do your research before speaking to the guests. So what goes into making an episode of Off Panel?
That's a good question. And it's thankfully something I do not have to do coming up because I'm actually fully recorded and edited until I get back from New York Comic Con, which is a very rare thing. But basically,
that's a good feeling, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been 3 weeks up, and it's a nice feeling. But basically what I do for prep is, obviously I book a guest. I figure out who it is. All of that is very whim-based. It's what I'm interested in. It's what if it's like I feel like I need a change of pace in terms of a guest. Like maybe it'll be a retailer, maybe it'll be another podcaster, maybe it'll be a journalist talking about different things, maybe it'll be somebody who works in the industry. Most of them are creators. But then what I'll do is I'll do a lot of research where I will read a bunch of interviews. Oddly enough, I don't really listen to any interviews or watch any interviews. It's really just reading stuff, trying to get a sense as to what they like and what they don't like, mostly what they don't like. And then I will, and also in that process, I'll be like sending myself a bunch of emails with topics and stuff I'd be interested in. Yeah. And then I put it into a document that is like fully planned out, has my intro, which I do live every time. A couple podcasters I just did a podcast with were very surprised to learn that. And then what I'll do is I'll get into the chat and then I'll throw the entire thing away and just talk.
There you go.
I mean, that's the funny thing is like my theory is that the more you're prepared, the more you're ready to go off script.
True.
Because you know what you're talking about.
That's really cool how you prepared for the guests. And does a lot of that preparation too? Like, I know I do this sometimes where I'll play dumb and kind of ask things that I already know the answers to. But for the benefit of the audience listening, I'm still going to ask that question and then let the guest express it in their own voice. Is that something you find yourself doing as well?
Absolutely. I mean, there's two things I do with that. One, I will either use it as like a lot of times when I read these interviews, what I'll do is I'll realize that the person who was doing the interview, which was probably over email, so it's not like it was live, so you couldn't do it. But the person who was doing the interview did not ask the follow-up question that I thought was sitting right there. And so I'll either ask it for the purpose of setting up the follow-up question, because they'll probably answer similarly,
Right.
Or what I'll do is I'll just skip through and be like, hey, I read this in this interview where you said this. Here's my follow-up question.
Yeah.
And so I like to, I mean, like, it's not 100% this, but I always say that I prefer to know the answer to some of my questions before I ask them. And it's not because, like, the last thing I want to do is for people to listen to my show and just hear the same interview that everyone else is doing.
Exactly.
But I think going in, having an idea of where they might take things sets you up in a position to take it in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So I got a little ahead of myself in delving into the podcast topic, but I want to talk about where your love of comics started and your earliest memory of interacting with comic books, because I always love to hear everybody's different way that they found comics or comics were presented to them. Like a lot of guests I'll have on, they maybe they were into the Marvel cards or something, and then that got them into the cartoon or vice versa, and then they wanted to learn more about the characters, so they started looking at the comics. So for you, what was your early interaction with comic books, and kind of where did that love of comics really ignite for you?
Well, it was a combination of things. I loved comic strips. Like I was really into Calvin and Hobbes and Far Side and Bloom County and things like that. So I'd always read the ones in the newspaper. And then I would also, I mean, the first comic I loved was Transformers, the Marvel one from the 80s.
Nice.
And I was just obsessed with the Transformers, and I would just take whatever I could read, watch, listen, anything. I mean, if there was Transformers cereal, I would try to get my parents to buy it for me.
Same.
Yeah.
We're probably in a similar boat there with anything Transformers related. That was my cartoon growing up. That was my jam. Anything Transformers.
Yeah, I've watched the movie a million times, and so that was a huge thing. It got me into actually reading comics. That was the first comic I really, really read intentionally. Okay. And then definitely a combination of like the Marvel Universe trading cards. I was a huge sports cards fan. That transitioned me into reading or getting the Marvel Universe cards, and it transitioned me into getting Marvel Masterpieces and all that stuff. And that was one of my gateways. Obviously, there was like Batman the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series and stuff. But I really think it was the cards and Transformers and comic strips that really were kind of like the things that really set me up.
Yeah. Now, in regard to Transformers, did you collect the toys?
Oh, yeah.
And do you still have any of your old toys?
I do have, oddly enough, I have my Optimus Prime, the Generation 1 one, still somewhere in this room. I actually don't know where it is. The funny thing is like, Danny Warren Johnson recalled a story in his write-up for the first issue of Transformers about how he had the Optimus Prime, but it was missing his left hand. Yeah, I also was missing my one's left hand, and maybe that was just a flaw in the design of Optimus Prime. But
mine's missing the little hose for the thing that's in his trailer. It had like a little tube that connected to it. That's a very common piece to be missing, but I still have mine too.
Yeah, I suspect mine is missing more than a few pieces. And it's like, I think it's got toy arthritis. It doesn't want to like transform as well because it's like got weary Transformer bones.
That's my Megatron. My Megatron doesn't want to turn into the gun. His barrel's like hanging there. Like, come on, dude.
The only other one I still have, I mean, the funny thing is I say the only one I still have is I have a Grimlock somewhere in here, but it's like the green one, not the gray one. I don't even know why it was green. But at my parents' place, they don't throw anything out, much to my delight recently. But all of my old Transformers are in there. Actually, weirdly, one of my favorite ones was Swoop from the Dinobox.
Oh, Swoop was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I love Swoop. The one I always wanted to have is I wanted to have Soundwave because I love the tapes.
Yeah.
And but anyways, I never had that one. And anyways, yeah, I had a number of the toys. They definitely played a part in it too because it's like, that's the thing about all those different kind of interests back then is like there was like a circle of things that could get you into one of the other things.
Totally.
And toys were certainly like, that's what got me to read the comics, that cartoon.
Yeah. Well, and influenced other cartoons that I like too, because I was big into Voltron. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that breaks my heart is my Voltron figure. I had all the characters and I don't know where it ended up, man. I think I traded it away just as I traded my Tony Hawk skateboard and my Jordan cement shoes back as a kid. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? But when you're a kid, you're not really thinking about that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, I trade this for this other cool thing that I want.
Based on my experience, it's probably at my parents' house. It all ends up at my parents' house.
It makes its way back.
Yeah, exactly. Even your stuff. Your stuff is now at my parents' house.
Please check next time you're there. If there's a hot pink Tony Hawk skateboard there, man,
I'll flat rate it over to you.
You're big into sports too.
Yeah.
It's always, when you talk about you mentioned sports cards too, because I was huge into that. Sports cards, comics, all of that stuff. And I wanted to ask you a sports question on here because I find that fun about your podcast when you have a guest that you know is into sports. I'm not huge into sports, but I do have that love of it from when I was younger and I was really following it, collecting the cards. So the age-old debate, and you may have already answered this on your podcast, but Jordan or LeBron, the argument about the GOAT, it goes back and forth over the years. Where do you stand on this long-going debate?
I honestly do not have a really strong take. It's kind of like it's a Rorschach test about the person. Yes. I think as much as it is about who's better. I mean, if you want to value longevity, you have to favor LeBron. If you want to favor rings or peak, you got to favor Michael Jordan. Though I will say that there is a massive difference between the way the game is played today versus when Michael was playing.
Very much.
And so it's like it's almost impossible to compare the two. It's like comparing Michael against like Bill Russell. It's like how do you okay, so we're talking about rings. How do you not pick Bill Russell as the best?
Yeah.
And so I mean, like the best player I've ever seen in terms of I want to win a game, it's Michael Jordan. But
totally,
the person who is capable of more than anyone I've ever seen on the court is LeBron. I mean, like the fact that he's the all-time leading scorer, the fact that he is an incredible passer, and the fact that he had one of the most iconic plays ever in the block from 2016 against the Golden State Warriors. Not many people have that in their bag. And like he's playing when he is my age, which is psychotic. He is like,
it is.
He's born the same year I was born. And you know what I'm not doing? Playing in the NBA.
How old is he now?
41. Are you wait, 40. He's turning 41 in December.
That's amazing. And to continue playing at that high of a level for that long is another feather in his cap for sure. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I kind of like who's the best there is subjective. And like you said, it's kind of a Rorschach test for the individual you're asking. I kind of fall in that category of like, I have a deep appreciation for both and their individual talents and accomplishments and things. So I always find those kind of debates funny though. It's like so subjective, and you see these debates in comics too, don't you? Like, you know, what creative team better, what's
Marvel
more
DC.
important, the art or writing, like all these things come up.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's like such amazing fodder for like ESPN talk shows or for like YouTube shows about comics and stuff. It's like DC versus Marvel, who's better?
Yeah.
Like, okay, what era are you talking about? What parts of the business and the medium are you talking about? This and that. There's like any number of permutations to make it like purely subjective. And people are like, the best way you can get somebody to like engage with your stuff is to make a very strong take, which is why Stephen A. Smith's entire career is based on being like, yes. LeBron's washed. And he's been saying it since he was like 28.
Yeah. Getting everybody fired up and coming after him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious. So when did you kind of switch gears? When did the love of comics and things turn into more for you to where it started becoming an element of your creativity and your career, like starting sketch.com and writing for that and doing all the various things you've done within the comic book industry? When did that all start to come together for you? When did that start seeming like a viable thing that you really wanted to start pursuing?
It depends on what you mean by viable thing. Do you mean something I would make money from or something I wanted to do?
Something you really wanted to do that you would have done whether there was money involved or not.
Well, the good news is if you want to do something that doesn't have money involved, I have a really good business for you to get into.
Yeah.
It's called comics journalism.
It's also called teaching jujitsu.
There you go. So
although it can become something, I'm not going to sit here and say like it's taken me a long time, but that is a viable career now. But it took many, many years to get to that point.
Same here. I mean, I started writing about comics in 2009, and it took me 7 years until I got paid for it. And so, I started writing about it because I was already writing about it on a personal blog. I do comic articles, and mostly my friends and family read that blog, and I don't think that they wanted to read those articles. So a person who I would talk to on this forum thread about comics that was on a pop punk forum, they came on the thread and were like, hey, does anybody want to write for this new site? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I was one of the first 3 people on the site called Multiversity Comics, and we were there. I was there for 4.5 years, and I came back for one last article that I joined when they closed up shop this past year, I believe it was. And I was there for a while. It helped me understand the things I liked doing, helped me understand the things I didn't like doing, it helped me understand what my strengths were, it helped me understand what, I don't know if I'd call my weaknesses, but the things I was just like, I'm sick of doing this.
Yeah.
And so that was, in 2015, I ended up starting Sketched and Off Panel in June of that year. And so this is the 10th anniversary year for both.
That's amazing, man. Happy anniversary on that. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the funny thing is it's only so much of an accomplishment because after a year, I was like, damn, this is hard work. And I quit. I quit Sketched. I took the summer off from Off Panel, kept that going, and brought Sketch back in 2019 with the model it's under now, which is the subscription model where people pay to subscribe to it and to read all the stuff I do. And, but yeah, I mean, the reason why I did it is I love writing about this stuff, and I'm just a very curious person. And so you combine those things together and you end up with this, me doing my thing.
I love it. And now you're here. That's amazing. Yeah. So in that time, in that process, were you finding that you were making connections and developing friendships with creators, within the industry? I'm sure you were talking to them, going to cons and that type of stuff. Did that kind of help inform what you were going to do with the podcast and thing? Or was it always the plan that you were going to have artists that you interviewed, creators, writers, and all of that? Is that kind of the formula out the gate for you?
I didn't really have a formula. I had no idea what I was doing. When I started at Multiversity, we were just like, what is this? Let's just post stuff. And then it slowly, I remember when we got our first interview and we were all like celebrated like we just won like the lottery.
Yeah.
We had no idea what we were doing. Having designs on things and what we were doing were two wildly different things. It was just posting and the power of prayer. And so that when I did do Sketch, I mean that's the thing that some people have been like, how did you get like notable people as soon as you started doing Off Panel? And the reason why is because I'd been already doing it for almost 6 years, and so I knew people. And so I mean the funny thing is very little of that has to do with cons. I very rarely go to conventions. I live in Anchorage, Alaska.
Gotcha.
And I'm a firm believer it's such a pain to get out of Alaska that I do everything I can to save my vacations for going to not comic places.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather go to France, although I did a lot of comic stuff there, or like, I don't know, my wife and I went to the Maldives in India for our honeymoon. So like doing trips like that rather than like, I'm going to go to Emerald City Comic Con again. But I did I went to Emerald and I went to New York a fair amount, and I met a lot of people that way. And, you know, I think part of it was I just like with social media, I just started talking to people and like, before you know it, you're friends. And I mean, like, here's the funny thing is like, there's a person who's been on my podcast about 10 times, Patrick Brower. He co-owns Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago. And we talk fairly regularly. I text with him. We talk on the phone. He comes on the podcast every year in January. He's featured in my retail articles I do in January and July on Sketched. We've never met, ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm meeting him in New York for the first time. We're getting breakfast
that's amazing.
On Thursday of the con. I'm very excited to finally do that. That is my number one thing for New York Comic Con this year. I can't wait. So yeah, I mean, it's just the internet's a funny place for all the pros and all the cons. There's some cool things like making friends that
Totally.
never physically meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I found this I started the podcast over a year ago, and just like everybody that I've reached out to has been so receptive and so cool about coming on. And same thing, I've developed friendships. Like there's a gentleman named Guy Dorian Sr. who's worked for Marvel for a long time. His twin brother Ian has done a lot of work in comics and film and everything else. And just like, yeah, we text each other. He was just checking in on me the other day, seeing if my dad was okay. And it's just, I find that, and my wife and I have commented on this a lot when we do go to cons. It's like the camaraderie and the instant kind of connection you have with a lot of the people and the creatives there is very refreshing. It seems like it's something very special and unique to the comic book industry.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it has to do with the fact that, like, for a lot of us, comics were a private thing that we did, that we kept to ourselves because they were kind of perceived as a not cool thing to do. Like, I didn't have a comic friend until I was in my 20s. And so going to a place where everyone is receptive of that love or representative of that love makes it, I don't know, it's pretty magical. Like,
It is.
It's hard to hate on somebody who is like, I love your stuff, or has been very kind about your stuff online or whatever, because comics, like anything else, is like I don't want to say a symbiotic industry, but it's like it's an ecosystem where we all play a part in our own way.
Definitely. Now, are you somebody that, because you write, are you somebody that has always been drawn to that aspect of comic creation, or have you had a deep appreciation of art in general? Like, to me, it's all art, the writing, the drawing, like all of it. It's part of the art form of creating comics. But for you, like when you were younger, was it all about who the artist was, or did you find yourself really delving into the stories and reading as well?
Well, I mean, like you were saying, the thing is like story is writing and art. It's all inseparable. The storytelling happens on both levels. But I've been art centric for my entire life. I would say that I'm art first. I have a thing here or somewhere in this office that was made when I was like 10 years old. And in it, it was like a thing where you talk about yourself and you share different sides of yourself. And like, on typewritten paper, I said that my dream job was to be a comic book artist.
Nice.
And in it, I have a drawing of Azrael as Batman, and I have a drawing of Arsenal from Speedy, Roy Harper from the Teen Titans, and I wanted to be a comic artist. I was terrible. I was so bad. And but then like that went away, and like I always wanted to write. I wanted to write. I didn't really know what the focus for that would be.
Yeah.
And so, and I've written for my local newspaper and done other things like that. And this just kind of proved to be a good marriage of that. But I always try to like keep my love of art in the foreground as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Like, so when people aren't on Sketch to talk about art, I'll also do these art feature interviews to talk about like the work. When I say Sketch, I mean off panel, like when I don't have them as a guest. And so I would say I'm art centric, but it's just once upon a time, I've referenced this way too many times. Kieran Gillen wrote kind of blog about how people will like kind of separate his work from Jamie McKelvey's work, and like how he views them as a faux cartoonist. The idea that they're not they're not separate parts of a unit. They are one unit together, and collectively they make the story. And that's how I view it.
Yeah. Well, you're in good company. I heard a funny quote the other day by somebody. It said basically that every great writer in modern comics is a failed artist. They said Kirkman, Bendis, I think Alan Moore. They said like every great writer failed. They wanted to be an artist and they didn't, they didn't have the chops, or they didn't follow through on it, and they really hit it off with the writing.
That's the funny thing is I wouldn't say failed artist is actually the correct thing, because like Bendis was a good artist. Alan Moore was a good artist.
Kirkman's thumbnails and character designs in the back of the Invincible trades are great.
Yeah. Ed Brubaker was a very successful cartoonist before he became a writer. But the thing is like, once you have so much writing on your plate, you don't have time to draw because drawing is like all encompassing.
Yes.
And so it's like at a certain point, you just have to choose the direction that's right for you. I know a lot of artists that have started writing also, and it's like they slowly but surely kind of end up becoming more of a writer just because they run out of time. And like, that's just, one of the paths you can take. And it is interesting. It is. I don't, like I said, I don't know if you're not saying anything wrong about it or anything like that, but
no, and I'm just I'm paraphrasing what that person said, and I can't remember where I heard it, but I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They were basically, they didn't mean like failed in the sense that the way it sounded. I think what they were trying to get across is like
a previous artist. They'd also drawn.
They were trying to say that you should try writing even if you're an artist, because look what can happen. Like you may end up becoming a great writer. Like look at these people. They want to be artists and they ended up being great writers. So I think that's what the person was trying to convey, but yeah, failed is a pretty harsh way to describe it.
Can I share an anecdote really quick?
Please do.
So I wrote this piece about the comic Top 10 that was America's Best Comics that eventually was like published by, it was originally Wildstorm, but then it became DC.
Yeah.
But written by Alan Moore, drawn by Xander Cannon and Gene Ha. Gene Ha did finishes, Xander Cannon did layouts. And I remember I wrote this piece where I talked to Xander and Gene about the making of that book. And Xander, I think it was Xander that said this, where he kind of realized that basically that what Alan Moore's scripts were basically him visualizing how the page would be and then writing out exactly like how he sees it in his head. Yeah. And so basically he was doing the written equivalent of thumbnails, which is a fascinating thing.
It is.
But you can't do that unless you know how the art of a comic works.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a great benefit to a writer like that because they kind of know what is possible for an artist. Because I know the relationship between a writer and an artist is greatly important, and there are times where there will be words in the script or a description of something and how they want the page to be that really isn't possible in comics, at least to have it read the right way, and then the artist has to interpret that. So yeah, I could see having somebody with the benefit of understanding how the art works is definitely a huge benefit. So since we're on the topic of artists in the fact that you kind of were always drawn to the art, who were some of your favorites coming up? Like who did you really gravitate towards?
One of my favorite growing up was Jim Lee. Like he was my guy. Very boring answer because like everyone of a certain age was like Jim Lee. So Jim Lee was probably the first one I was really, really in love with. I absolutely loved his work. Humberto Ramos.
Sorry to interrupt you. Was that his X-Men stuff, or were you looking at like some of his stuff on Punisher?
X-Men.
Yeah.
X-Men. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is he actually did a cover. I think his first cover work was Transformers. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
And but anyways, it was definitely that. I love his covers for Punisher, which are hilarious.
Yes.
I did actually that was a Klaus Janson cover, but I love the one with him on a jet ski. I don't know if
Yes, I was going to mention the jet ski one.
You're not getting that baby back.
Yeah.
It's the funniest cover that's ever existed. But I love that. Humberto Ramos was my 100% favorite when I was a kid. I loved Impulse so much. He was my guy. Bart Allen. That book by Mark Waid and Humberto Ramos was like my comic book lifeblood. I said it in an article this year. It is, of all of the artists' runs in the history of comics, at no point have I ever loved one more than when Humberto Ramos was drawing Impulse. Like if you compare like the apex of my love for that.
That's awesome.
He's what made me want to be a comic artist. Like I totally just studied him and just copied him and did everything I could to be him, but I was very bad at it.
Such a unique style. Like so much kinetic energy, like dynamics and everything. And like you know right away when it's a piece that he's done. Like there is, you want to talk about a distinct style, like his really stands out. Yeah, I always really enjoyed his stuff as well, and I think the Impulse stuff for a lot of people is kind of overlooked because I think everybody kind of thinks of him in regard to Spider-Man, and they don't really. You're kind of one of the first to bring that up, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I've talked to him about it. I had him on the podcast. We did a live podcast here in Anchorage, which was wonderful. And then also I did a retrospective on that run with him and Mark Waid and Brian Augustin. And I honestly think that like that was the moment where I don't know. Like, I feel like he was kind of, him and like Joe Madureira were very like representative of a changing, a changing of the guard, changing of the styles. The funny thing is people are always like, oh, manga influenced art by Humberto Ramos.
Yeah.
And he wasn't manga influenced at all, which is hilarious. And then one other name I want to say, as much as I loved like Andy Kubert and I loved Adam Kubert, anybody with the name Kubert, I love Joe Madureira. Those were a lot of my big guys. Anybody who worked on any Wildstorm book ever, J. Scott Campbell. Chris Bachalo would be the other person I picked. I love Chris Bachalo, and I have to say, like, this is a humble brag, but it's just a true thing. Like, he backs Off Panel on Patreon.
I know. When I hear you read the list of supporters at the end every time, I'm like, it always takes me aback, and I go, man, that is so cool that so many of the creatives appreciate this show and to the point of backing it on Patreon. That's got to feel really good, man.
It does, but Chris was special. Like when that happened, I was like, wait a second, what's happening here? Because I didn't know he listened, and like a lot of the other people, I'm like, I knew that they listened, and like with him, I was just like, wait a second, what is happening here? This is weird.
That had to be a milestone achievement that you didn't expect.
It was. Right there. It was for sure. I was very proud of that, and I've emailed with him about it before, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah. Now you've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, briefly touched on it, and I know you've talked about it on other podcasts, but it's public knowledge that you ended up losing your job unexpectedly, and that kind of made you go all in with Sketch and Off Panel. So kind of what's that pivot been like for you and the transition to doing this all full time?
So far, so good. I mean, knock on wood. I shouldn't knock on wood because it's an audio medium and it would shake the table. But I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's the biggest problem is like something else that happened to me this year is that I had a heart attack in May, which was amongst other things. I also had pericarditis. I had a whole bunch of heart stuff happen.
Oh man,
it was completely bewildering because the doctors described me as the healthy person because I run, I don't smoke, I barely drink, I don't eat badly. I'm in good shape. And for some reason, one of my arteries was like 100% blocked and it caused a heart attack. And they don't know why. They have theories, but, what are you going to do with theories?
Exactly.
And so the real bummer of it is like I was supposed to start doing this cardiac rehab stuff right when I got laid off. And so when I lost my insurance, I lost the ability to do that. So I haven't been able to get the treatment I need to get healthy, which is
make sure everything's functioning right so you can get back to living a normal life, right?
Yeah. And it's just that whole thing is a mess, but you do what you can. But I got laid off and I was already like, the thing is I'm pretty lucky in the grand scheme of things. A lot of people get laid off and like that's all they have. They go from something to nothing.
Yeah.
And at least I had something still. I had Sketch and Off Panel, and I was already doing okay on there. And then when I posted about it, I had just an outpouring of support that I could never have expected that just really blew me away. And
honestly, I think that's right about the time that I pulled the trigger. I'd been meaning to subscribe on the Patreon, but like not too long after that was when I hopped on there as well. Cause you come together with the community to support somebody who's doing a lot of good in the comic community. It's always special to see how everybody comes together during those times.
Yeah, and it's been amazing, and I believe me, I know you're there because I say your name in the outro all the time, but and your podcast name. But I mean, it's been really fantastic, and like I'm doing a lot better. You know, I'm still in a position that's fragile because like crowdfunding in your
Yeah.
entire living is a kind of a scary proposition, but I'm doing well with it. And like I'm figuring other answers out. Like I pitched my local comic shop on doing an email newsletter for them where
Nice.
yeah, where I like they pay me to do recommendations for their readers, and that's going well. So going into the second month of that, I'm doing some writing for ICV2, the site about comics retail and comic shops and stuff like that. That seems to be going well so far too. So trying to find ways to add add to what I do and try to supplement what I do with sketch and off panel. And it's very reliant on me constantly being creative and being able to churn out work. But the good news is like I've only ever done my comic work as like a side hustle where I've never been able to focus on it. And thanks to everyone's generosity, I've been able to focus on it in a way I never had. And it's like, it's funny. I've had like a lot of people reach out and be like, your stuff is like way better than it was before. And it was already pretty good. And I was just like, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. It feels like that.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. And you know, scary at times and weird. And like, I don't know, like, you're doing this while the world is in a very odd place.
True.
And like you never know if the bottom's going to drop out, but so far so good. And
good. I'm gently knocking on the wood on the desk as to not shake the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, I just want to thank you to you for supporting what I do. And thank you to everyone else for the support, because it means a lot.
Absolutely. We're going to continue to support too. We're going to get the word out. Obviously, you know, I send everybody your way, send them to the Patreon. But as we start getting close to the end here, I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you select your upcoming guests. Is it just strictly based on, you know, people's work you're interested in, or it could be a comic you read that you were like, oh, this is great, I'm going to reach out to this person? Like, how does that all evolve for you as far as determining your guest lineup? Because I know for me, it's kind of just like who I'm inspired to ask in the moment. And I'm like, oh, you know what? It'd be cool to get this person on. Or like, I like to get on people who I don't normally see on, like colorists and inkers and people of that regard, or writers. Like a lot of times I find these type of podcasts focus mainly just on artists. So I like to mix it up a little bit. So for you, what's that like? What kind of drives where you put your attention as far as who you reach out to?
I'll say I think most podcasts focus on writers, but it depends on the podcast.
Maybe I'm just following the ones that
that are art-centric.
Go for artists. Yeah.
What guides me, most of it is just like, what am I interested in and what am I kind of passionate about in the moment? One of the things I try to do is I try not to be beholden to the kind of promotional cycle. I want to help people. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like be like, screw you guys, you're trying to promote your book, I'm not interested, or something like that. But like, my goal for my podcast is to not make them promotional conversations. My goal is to make it a conversation, and to make it about the person as much as it is about the work.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, okay, so here's 4 examples. I'm going to get my own timeline wrong. 5 examples. Okay, so 2 episodes ago, I had Ngozi Ukazu, who did the graphic novel Flip that just came out, and previously had done Check Please and Barda as graphic novels before. She came on because she had Flip, but also just because I love her work, and I think that she is a truly special cartoonist, and I love talking to her, and she's super funny and all this stuff. I thought it'd make for a good conversation about life and her work and stuff. And so it worked for her cycle, and it worked for me. Then John Allison was the most recent guest. John Allison is a writer, artist, and he's also somebody who I know has been going through kind of a time where he's figuring out where he fits in the world and where he fits in comics. And he doesn't have anything to promote. So I had him on just to talk about life and like where he fits in comics and try to navigate those feelings and stuff. And it resulted in a fantastic conversation. The one that goes up this upcoming week is David Brothers and Nick Dragata. They have a new book that comes up that week. So a lot of it is about that book, Good Devils Don't Play Fair with Evil, which is
nice.
Image Comics, and it's amazing, and I absolutely love it. We also talk about Absolute Batman, but a lot of it's just about like what we love about comics and like what gets us energized and stuff like that. And then the following week is I wanted to do something. I like to throw in some curveballs where it's like I'll have a comic shop retailer come on the show, or an industry pundit, a journalist, something like that. Somebody that where we don't just talk about promotional stuff.
Yeah.
So this next one is a fantasy draft of 7 hyper-specific things we love about comics with 2 fellow podcasters.
Oh, nice.
Botter Milligan from the Short Box Podcast and Chris Hacker from the Oblivion Bar. We're also doing a panel at New York Comic Con, so it was a good chance to promote that. And then also has 2 special guests as judges to decide who wins the fantasy draft. And then the one after that is Doc Shaner, who is an artist who has done a lot of work and has currently not been on the stands really for 3 years. And I just want to come on and talk about art and talk about life and, you know, where he's been, basically. And so what fuels me? What feels right at the moment?
Nice. Yeah. You mentioned Nick Dragata and Absolute Batman. Like, Nick was somebody who, like, somehow, and I'm somebody who's always followed artists since I like to draw and everything. I've always been really gravitate towards comics, kind of follow artists, different books, but Nick had completely gone under my radar. And until Absolute Batman, were you following his work prior to that? You were one of the people that were like aware of him prior to Absolute Batman, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Nick for a long time,
Nice.
and I've known his work for a long time. I mean, I interviewed him for Multiversity about he did this comic called How Toons, which was a Image well, it was a series he did himself, but then it was published by Image. That was literally about like kids doing science projects and how kids can do these science projects. And I interviewed him about that, like probably like 2010 or 2011.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I could be off on that timeline, but then East of West, I interviewed him about East of West before. He's been on the podcast back in like 2016 or 17.
Yeah.
And so I've known him for a while. I mean, that's part of the thing though, is like, I've been doing this thing for so long that like a lot of I mean, I don't know if this counts as a humble brag, but a lot of the people I kind of came up with as like, we're all getting into this together are now like kind of big names in comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I remember
one thing.
Wait, sorry.
I was just going to say what I actually like about the fact that I didn't know really anything about him was now I'm going back and looking at all the old stuff and just drooling over it. It's all amazing. So you probably weren't surprised when Absolute Batman was such a big hit.
No, I mean, I think the world was ready for Nick Dragata to show them what comics can look like now. And I highly recommend Good Devils. It's great. Comes out October 1st. It's an amazing comic. 3 different stories by the 2 of them. They're friends and they're creating stuff together, and all those stories are awesome. It's collecting material from 3 different projects they had done before, but all great stuff.
Very cool. Well, you know, at the end of your podcast, a lot of times you ask a basketball question or something. I got to ask a fellow cat dad question.
Let's do.
I'm always on there liking your pictures of your cats that you post on your story. How many do you have?
I have 2.
You have 2. Is 2 the most you've ever had?
Depends on how you count foster cats. My wife and I.
Right.
My wife and I volunteered for a local cat rescue for 2.5, 3 years, something like that. And we, what we would do is we'd go to the local PetSmart where they keep their cats in like the enclosures for adoptions. And we would clean the enclosures and we'd socialize them and play with them and give them love and do all the stuff that you need to do to make sure that they're well-adjusted cats. And also, it was mostly born from the fact that I really sympathize for them just being in those little spaces all the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we started doing that. And then there was this one cat who was a big boy, and he was having a hard time in the area, and he was having a hard time with the bathroom. And I felt so bad for him. We ended up fostering him, and we had him for like a total of 6 months. This is gonna be a sad story. I'm sorry, this is going into bad direction.
No, I mean, often the animal stories are, but ultimately, if you were able to help them for a period of time, that counts for a lot.
So we had him for quite a bit. He had a very tumultuous period. He got adopted. He got returned. he got kind of stolen, and
Oh,
then
geez.
the people posted on Nextdoor that he was lost in the winter, and like they couldn't find him, and
Oh,
I
man.
literally went and found him in the random of Alaska in December.
Wow.
My parents and my wife came out, and my parents were the ones who actually ended up finding him. Then my parents adopted him, and he's kind of got an indoor outdoor type vibe. And August 20th, he went out and has never come back. And
Oh, man.
and I've been like probably spent 60 to 70 hours in the past month walking through the woods trying to find him.
Yeah.
I was doing that yesterday because somebody called saying that they thought they'd found him. And
Oh, my goodness.
so anyways, yeah, so like two with an often third. We had a total of 6 or 7 fosters.
Okay.
Some of them were with us for months because we would normally take the ones that had problems to some degree.
Yeah, yeah.
And try to nurse them back to health or try to socialize them so they're ready to be their best selves. And
That's
so
awesome that you do that, because we've foster failed before.
we have a firm line. We don't foster fail, but it's hard.
We had that firm line too.
It's a line meant to be broken.
Keep that line, buddy. Keep that line.
Yeah.
We kept a couple of brothers, a couple of siblings that we were fostering. We did find a home for one of them, but yeah. And
How many do you have?
6.
Oh my God, the life,
Yeah,
the dream.
the dream. Yeah. Yeah. We'll say 2 is the starter kit for eventually ending up with 6.
I mean, it is, but I'm like really good at drawing lines for myself. Like
That's good.
Really good at it. I mean, here's a good example. So, my guest, John Allison, that was just on, he came on and he told me about how he works banker's hours.
Okay.
Because of a line from Nick Cave and how he started doing that and how it's made him feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I started working banker's hours that day, and I've been working banker's hours ever since. And you know what? John Allison was right. So was Nick Cave.
That's awesome.
I feel better.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to give you a chance to let everybody know where to find Sketched, where to find Off Panel, and how they can support the shows on Patreon and everything, because it's really cool. I'm a supporter on there, and I love getting the early access to things, and I haven't utilized the asking questions part, but that's another thing you can do if you're a supporter on Patreon. So let everybody know all the pertinent places that they can find you and where they should be following.
Sure. You can find me Sketched, which is my Eisner Award losing site, subscription comic site. You can find it at sketch.com. It's just cost on the annual membership. It's just $2.99 a month. And you can, subscribe there and you get access to all my articles. And then you also will get a weekly email newsletter that I send recapping all the stuff and sharing anecdotes from my life, which have been very odd this year with all the tumultuous stuff going on with me. But you can find Off Panel on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you prefer to listen. It's also on Sketched. It is the home of that. The reason why it's not behind my paywall, because I've had several outlets that wanted me to move my stuff over, and they said that they would have to paywall my podcast. I didn't want to do that, and so I use Patreon to do that. Some people give me guff for having multiple subscription things, but the thing is like, Off Panel is powered by Patreon, and it's the way it's always been, and it's how I keep it outside the paywall and make it worth it. And then you can also watch it now on YouTube, which is going really well. It's growing quite a bit. I also have some original stuff that's going to be happening on there for video going forward. And if you really, really like what I do and you already subscribe to the stuff, I also have a Ko-fi, coffee, whatever you want to call it, where you can just send me a tip to buy me a coffee or whatever. And let's see, what else?
Or buy cat food.
Or yeah, exactly. That's the most important part. My cats, God, they're greedy.
Exactly.
But and then the other big thing I have, when is this going to go up?
This should be up at least in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, if this goes up before or after New York Comic Con, I am debuting a new print project called Stilt Zine at New York Comic Con. Many people know that I love Stiltman. He's my guy.
Stiltman's your favorite, dude.
He's my. That's the funny thing. He's not my favorite, but he's the weirdest favorite.
But that's the whole fun part about that whole thing.
Here's the truth. Are you ready for the truth?
Yes.
it's very good to be known for things that no one else is known for.
Exactly.
I'm known for loving Stiltman and for being from Alaska, and it makes me very easy to remember. And so I have the Stilt zine coming out. It is a 60-page zine that has 5 kind of total articles for me, 2 of which are new. It has a infographic by Chip Zdarsky in it. It has 5 pinup pieces from Liana Kangas, Jesse Lonergan, Kyle Starks, Declan Shalvey, and Philip Seavey. It has a variety of other stuff. My wife designed it. It's amazing. It's out to the printer. I'll be selling it at New York Comic Con, and afterwards I'll be selling on my Big Cartel page. And I hope to have some stuff up on a merch site for celebrating the 10th anniversary of Sketch soon. TBD, but look out for that. Follow me on social media. I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram, and that's it.
Awesome, David. Well, thanks for spending some time with me today. I know how busy you are, so it's really special to me. And there's so much more I definitely want to talk to you about. So if you enjoyed yourself today, I would love to have you back on in the future, man.
Of course. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, listen, hang out with me for a moment where I give my spiel to everybody. Everybody, you're already listening to the podcast, so that means you've found us or you're watching us. I appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, share if you are so inclined. We also have a Patreon now. If you want to support on there, there's going to be all sorts of cool perks, stickers, episodes that are only on Patreon, a shirt with your name on it potentially that my poor wife will have to make with her Cricut machine. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.